welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Myron.
Wow, folks, you missed an epic pre-show. It wasn't really a pre-show. We've been sitting here trying to figure all these news out for at least an hour. But where you want to find all your good content, where you want to find your exclusive Tapped Out Pod content, where does it go?
Right over on our YouTube channel. That is correct. YouTube.com/C/Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I always tell people, because, I get this question a lot, and they're like, I'm like, dude, just save yourself some hassle. Go to YouTube. Just search Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. It'll come up, I promise you. And then, of course, we always say, what do we tell them to do, Myron?
Subscribe, like, and turn on your notification out. The little bell, turn on that notification outcome, because you'll be sitting at work and your phone will ding and it'll be like, there's a new Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast content just for you, since you're an exclusive member and a subscriber.
That's right, man. And, of course, we've got the paid membership levels there as well. You can sign up for stuff over there. You get some extra bonus stuff that we only throw out to certain levels. Also, there's also, you get shirts and all this kind of stuff that you can get just by becoming a member over on our YouTube channel. Just click sign up and all that. Whew. When we headed down the road of this episode, like I said, it was funny because it all broke last week. Like the big stuff all from first and foremost, before we get started, I agree with somebody who I heard say last week could have arguably been one of the absolute worst weeks for wrestling. There's only a couple, and I'm not even going to go there. There's a couple things in history that are okay, that one still ranks above. But last week with Jeff Hardy at the beginning of the week, the Vince stuff at the end of the week, and that's what we're going to head into that here in a minute, because we're going to discuss a little. Look, Vince coming back, back on TV, Brock, John Cena, Forbidden Door, the injury bug in AEW, Impact. So there was lots of stuff to cover in an entire week. So,
yes.
But it just was a bad week. And here's the thing, Myron, when we talk about the Vince McMahon stuff, so here we see, because hey, look, after he appeared on Smackdown, I was really surprised to see him on Raw. That was
I wasn't even advertised, so
yeah.
I wasn't expecting the Raw. The SmackDown, man, I tuned in. I'm off work that day. No, I wasn't off work that day. Sorry, I DVR'd it. I rushed home from work, got down here at the computer, and watched. And wow, Vince comes out, says hello, welcome to the show. Show went on nothing ever happened.
Yeah,
and popped huge numbers.
Right, and it's all because, listen, obviously all of the, and for the record, it's all at this point, it's all going to be allegations, accusations, call it what you will. There's some things obviously that are fact at this point. But the issue that we struggle with, I think right now, is there's just, because, look, I had people DMing and emailing me, messaging me, all that kind of stuff about, hey, what's your take on the whole Vince thing? It's been a pretty consistent answer. Honestly, there's really way too much unknown.
I don't think there's any story there, because I can't dig deep enough to find the story, because we don't have it all yet.
Right.
We have what accounts to an Inquirer tabloid headline with no story to go with it.
Yeah.
Yes, this happened. How people found out, we don't have any We don't have any idea how people find out.
Yeah, because Myron, was it? Because here's my first thing I ask everybody: is it illegal, unethical, immoral? What is it?
Yes. And how did it damage the company enough that people are working on 5 different law firms are coming up with class action lawsuits against the WWE from shareholders? How did this damage the company enough to merit 5 class action lawsuits?
Well, there's part C of our issue, right? That's the issue that we struggle with here. Is one, because I go through layers of it, and we've gotten some answers. You had somebody dig into it a little bit, and I had some people asking some questions. We have some attorney people that we know, and so my thing was, one, did he use his own money or did he use company money? Because for me, that's part of the layers of it.
My investigator found out he used his personal money.
Correct.
I guess it got tangled up through the company through legal, or maybe he had Jerry McDivitt draw out the NDA. Maybe I don't know how it all happened. I wasn't there. It's a non-disclosure agreement. It's hard to disclose what's in it.
Right. Because here's our take, Myron. We asked this, and this is funny because we've had back and forth all week. We're like, how did this even come out? So then one of my people, reached out to me and said, hey, because this was prior, by the way, this was prior to us knowing that it was his personal money or his company money. Because we were like, if it was company money, it could have been uncovered
during due diligence.
Somebody doing due diligence for a sale. So like, hey, it could be a sale. It's all came out this way. But like, I honestly would love to know how it even came out to begin with, because like you said, with the NDAs involved, like, okay, this person, she should, if she's not supposed to be talking, well, then I'm pretty sure that the people being, John Laurinaitis and Vince McMahon aren't talking.
No. This person that's talking, if it's somebody talking that was in the NDA, they're going to have to pay back the money. Okay? It's that simple. That's the way those work. You get a cash payment to not talk. Okay? So we don't even know what he did. This is rumored that this was a payment for an affair. This could have been a payment for anything else.
Well, no, let's we have to, and this is the problem, because remember we say, like, oh, all of this is, you're going to have to assume certain key factors. Like, so my thing is, but here's the problem. Like, we're never going to know 100% true. Like, it's funny how this is kind of running at the same time, the Deshaun Watson stuff's going on, right? He's got all these lawsuits, and apparently, this, by the way, we're recording on Wednesday, and as of yesterday, I heard, listening to the radio, I had heard, they had pretty much settled the majority of them. There were only like less than a handful left. They were wrapping up, and they'll probably get those all taken care of. And guess what's going to happen, Myron?
Nothing.
NDAs are going to be involved. Nobody's going to be able to talk. And at the end of the day, I think the same exact problem is going to happen as we're going to see here. You're never going to know 100% of what the truth was.
The big story is there's no story, because the whole story has been obscured by NDAs. Okay? And the first thing people do, insider trading. Okay, let's look at this, folks. The stock volume, this was all came out on a Wednesday afternoon. Earlier in the day, W stock volume increased. Trading volume was like higher than normal. It's like it went from like a normal was like a million, it went to like 2.5 million. Am I correct? The W rating was, the stock rating had been increased by one of the big brokerage firms, and they introduced the interest rates were increased that same day. So people traded more. Everybody's like, insider trading. So they went back and looked, and there was one, when you're an important member of a company, board, or an officer, a director like Kevin Dunn is, you have to file an SEC Form 4 within 2 business days. So Friday night, I'm watching the SEC. I looked at it again last night. No Form 4s were filed for any big trading by somebody. So if there was any insider trade, they didn't turn in the right form, so they're going to be in trouble anyway. Kevin Dunn traded back last month. Kevin Dunn owns what, 280,000 shares, and he sold 15,000 shares. So that's not even enough to merit. If you were going to try to dump your stock to prevent a controversy, last month in May, he dumped 15,000 shares, and that was just a drop in the bucket. So where are we at? Where is this big thing? There's the controversy.
I don't think there's anything to the Dunn thing. That's we were going to get to that later. But
everybody hates Kevin Dunn. Let's just admit
well,
it.
Now, listen, I'm not saying whether I like it. I don't know him, but I mean, look, what people think of him is a whole different argument.
Yes.
You're talking about like trading and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole other argument. There's also the thing of like, Laurinaitis has been pulled, and now Bruce Pritchard's taken over. So like there's concerns with that. I know people are concerned like, hey, if he's a head of creative and he's a head of talent relations, how does that work? Because the guy you're asking for time off is also the guy coming up with the ideas. He's probably less likely to let people off because that's going to make his other job more difficult.
Yeah.
So I get all of that. So I don't know, but I don't really know.
Do we have any kind of consistent opinion on this? No.
Right.
Can we tell you anything that you don't already know or have read? No. All you've ever read so far is speculation. All we've read is speculation.
Right. But here's the thing, Myron, because like it was funny when Vince, they announced Vince is going to be on SmackDown. Rumor, obviously, that's why you watched, right? Everybody's like, oh my God,
Yes.
you got to see this. That he came out, he was on SmackDown, and since he has appeared on Raw as well. And everybody, I just lost my mind when I thought, like, did people really think he was going to come out there and address this? Like, it's a current ongoing investigation, and you thought he was going to address it on national television? Like, come on. People are smarter than that, right?
No, they're not. No, they're not. Worst case scenario on this whole thing. Vince is growing older. Vince might be attached to senile. This might be his reactions to how to do things. I don't know. He stepped down as chairman. He's put Stephanie in his place interim.
Well, the board did. Technically, the board of directors appointed her. Yeah.
So Vince is out of the picture except for being creative. So here's Vince. He's doing whatever he wants to. Maybe he shouldn't have been so creative in the past.
Here's my take on it. I agree with this. When people say that, that's kind of why I'm looking at you when you were saying that, going like, come on. Vince, I think this is going one of two places. One, I think Vince becomes the great wizard of Oz. He'll be the man behind the curtain, running everything, and Stephanie will be the one that everybody... Because, listen, it keeps Vince from having, between them, they still have they have the majority of the votes of everything. He's not getting kicked off of the board of directors. He's just not going to be the CEO anymore. So if Vince and Stephanie and certain powers are there, they're still going to have Kevin Dunn. They're all going to still do everything. But Stephanie now is the one. She's a female who you can send out. You can send to these meetings, and she's for the photo op.
She's great as a goodwill ambassador. She's been phenomenal as a goodwill ambassador over the years. I don't know why she stepped down. Did she know this was coming, and that's why she stepped down last month?
I don't know.
Was that a protective gesture? I don't know.
She just stepped back from some of her duties. That was her big thing. She just took a leave on some of her duties, and
then got more duties.
Well, listen, we're in a really wonky time because it could have been she stepped back knowing she was going to be slid into this position, so it gave them enough time. Because if you just said, "Hey, we're going to give these duties to somebody else from Stephanie," people are going to start going, "Why?"
How big was it a news story that she stepped down? Any tiny little change is reported like it's fact in the wrestling media, folks. Is it immoral that Vince, who is in a married relationship, either they're separated or not, was it immoral that he cheated? Not my judge. I'm not here to judge. Okay? Was it unethical? If you have agreements in place where you can't have relationships with other people in power or your underlings in a company, could be. Was it illegal? I don't think so. But this is all speculation.
Right.
The fact that he would have sex with the same woman Johnny Ace was having sex with, that's the offensive thing in this whole thing.
You're like, that's just bad taste. I mean, that's
bad taste.
That's bad taste. That's bad. That's bad form. But look, here's my other thing. Like, so either that's where we're heading, or the sale of the company is inevitable. I had friend of the show message me and asked, like, do you think we're watching the downfall of the company? And I said no, the company's going to be fine. Like, it's not. I understand what people like to think. The company would eventually be, if it got that bad, the company would just be sold. Because look, we all know, look, Disney's still in the in the game. NBC, Universal, Comcast, whatever the hell their name is now, is in the market. You never know who's in the market at this point. Look, I still stand by my source who says, look, at one point the Saudis were looking at purchasing WWE.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, listen, they did this whole golf thing, for crying out loud. Like, you don't think that they're look, I don't even
how much did they give Mickelson just to leave the PGA Tour?
Oh, I have no idea. Like, I honestly, I will tell you.
$30 million? $300 million? It was something insane. Yeah. They just opened up the bank and paid Phil Mickelson to leave the PGA Tour to come play for them.
And listen, there might be a exclusive on our YouTube channel that we can cut, that just for our members only. things I know about how that went down, that whole LIV stuff, and how I can relate it to why they're a good purchase for the WWE. I don't necessarily, I'm not agreeing that I like this, the Saudis owning any of this, but because, of how, I just don't want to go down there. There's too many rabbit holes that I spent literally an hour on the phone with somebody about how this could all tie in together with an attorney and why they thought it was, why it would work for all parties involved. But my point on it being that I was going to is if Vince is not in charge, Jim Cornette said it best, right? When he brought up that if you think WWE's not wrestling now, let somebody like NBC Universal, Disney, or the Saudis or somebody get a hold of it. It will become solely an entertainment company, which is what I argue that it is now. But it will
look
be
more
even
like
less.
Marvel than it will look like wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there'll be anything left of a wrestling machine other than the fact that guys will be wrestling, which is kind of ironic.
Yes.
But, me personally, I hope they're still there. And I love Brian Gerwitz's option, right? Just send Vince out there every week. Plug the merchandise stand. Plug
love
somebody.
that shit.
Yeah, it was kind of gold. But, because if nothing else, man, it gives guys like me and you something to talk about, right? Because that's like what we do. Like that's, every week it's like instant content, that we can keep putting out and keep putting out a podcast. But it's funny because I get that question a lot, by the way, Myron. People always ask me about the podcast and, how did you get started and what do you do? So when I do get that question, I always ask them, I start with one question. Do you have an idea for a great podcast? You can bring your idea to life and start podcasting today with Libsyn. Our podcast has been on Libsyn for over 5 years now, and we absolutely love it. Libsyn has everything you need to plan, launch, and grow your own podcast. Libsyn provides some of the best resources created by expert podcasters who will show you everything you need to know, like what equipment should you use, how to record great audio, how to get your show on places like Apple Podcasts and other popular platforms, and so much more. Plus, as a friend of the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, when you sign up for Libsyn, they will give you your first month of podcast hosting absolutely for free. There has never been a better time than right now for you to start your podcast. Visit Libsyn.com and use the promo code FRIEND. That is LIBSYN.com and use the promo code FRIEND, FRIEND, to get started and create your podcast today. And that's just what I keep saying to them, man. Like, I just tell you, like, if you're going to do a podcast, to me, and it is really everybody, I know everybody likes to go like, hey, well, what's a good free one? What's a good post? Libsyn to me has been the most stable and the best partner we've probably, as far as the hosting goes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't, it's the only one I recommend. Anytime people ask me, I always say Libsyn.
Well, folks, look, I had to fill in for Nick a while back on doing some of the stuff. It was so easy. He said, and I didn't have to go through a computer training. Nick said, click this, click that, click that. Bam, bam, bam. Everything was posted. You never even knew the wizard wasn't at the helm anymore. I totally could fill in with no problem. I think you're going to like this. I think it's going to make it easier for you. How many different networks, how many different podcast formats are we on now, Nick?
Dude, honestly, I jokingly tell people, I don't know. Like,
how many clicks does it take, though?
Oh, it takes one. You literally, once you send it, it goes to everything that's out there, including all of the major platforms. They helped us get on Amazon Music. They helped us get on Apple, iHeartMate. All of that stuff was all due to Libsyn.
I popped so hard for myself the other night. I was testing out my new speakers. I turned on Amazon Music. There's thumbnails of our show that are this big. Your default pick. Dude, I was like, oh my God, there's me next to my favorite musical stars.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah. Speaking of stars, man, let's get into it because, not only did Vince McMahon appear, but also we had the return of one Brock Lesnar. I had a lot of people ask me about that. It's jokingly, like, I literally was watching it, and when I saw it, I literally typed in on Facebook, in case of emergency, break glass, right?
Yes.
And everybody was under the assumption like it's his Vince, because of the Vince thing. That's what I was talking about. And I'm like, no. Like the rumor, this has been going around. This has been weeks in the making. When Randy being hurt, and not the Vince stuff. So it kind of makes sense. Like you had to have somebody for Roman, right?
Yeah. There's been two consistent moneymakers for WWE prior to Roman Reigns: Brock Lesnar, and our next topic. Brock Lesnar is money. Brock Lesnar ended Undertaker's streak. They picked him for that. Brock Lesnar is a guy that when you need him to come out there and do what you want him to do, he does it. He'll do the job when he needs to. He'll go over when he needs to. He'll reinvent his character, for Christ's sake. A guy you didn't think was capable of that. Brock Lesnar is money. Brock Lesnar is a sure bet. Anything ever goes wrong, it's a perfect person to bring in.
And
even if he wasn't, even if it's not that why they brought him in. Because I think he was already booked to come in anyway, right?
well, based on the Randy thing, I think he was coming back for Roman. Who knows when he was coming back for whatever, for his normal run. And look, the last time he was there, dude, we all loved it. We loved the run, the entertaining run where he was being a little more Brock and had that personality and stuff. Now, I do think, like they got to do something creatively to make it a little bit different. Because we don't want to, I know Brock likes to, whatever, rinse, repeat, destroy, repeat, or whatever it is. But like, okay, we can't do the same thing again. We can't just absolutely repeat the last thing. But like, are they going to, like Brock, are they going to have him beat Roman? Like Roman's got all this momentum. Like, are you going to use it on Brock? Like, what does Brock gain? Brock's already beat him.
If I were to speculate, and this is what I think they would have done with Randy, brought him in at SummerSlam to make Roman even bigger so that when you announce The Rock will be at WrestleMania, it's even a bigger mountain. That's to me what it is.
Well,
or if
the bad part is we got to get there, right? That's the challenge we face. Like, but to make it so different, like, listen, everybody knows I'm a huge fan of Bully Ray on Busted Open. He had this great pitch of, like, use Brock's illness, his diverticulitis. If I pronounce it wrong, I'm sorry. Big fancy word for me.
You do good.
Humanize him a little bit. Make him look like he can be hurt. Make him look like he can be injured. Because it was funny, we were joking about it. If I walked up to somebody and said, "Oh, they took a chair to Brock's back or his abdomen or whatever," and then he came out and he said it messed him up because of it, and this is not an insult to anybody because I wouldn't have known. You could have said like, "Oh, it messed me up because of my diverticulitis." I'd have been like, "Oh, okay." I don't know, is it legit or not? I don't know. I don't know what it hurts. If he said so, I just take his word for it.
If Brock Lesnar tells me something hurts, I'm going to believe it hurts because he's Brock fucking Lesnar. Okay?
Right.
End of story.
And it finally gives you you finally get sympathy on the beast. Like, wait, so he can be hurt. Like, have his family concerned. Like, that was Bully's take. Like, have Sable or have his kids or, oh, Dad, And then Roman just, like, pounces on it because he's the head of the table. It's a weakness. So they're going to attack like a pack of rabid dogs or kind of thing. So, listen, I know a lot of people say, "Oh my God, here we go with Brock again." Here's the fear: it could be, it can go one of two ways. If we get a little bit of a twist to it and we got a little bit of future to it, I'm okay with it. If we're literally just rinsing and repeating the last run, okay, then I have a problem with it. Then it could be like, here we go, more of the same, blah blah blah. But let it play out before we get there, right?
Yes, definitely.
And you brought up this next man because next week John Cena returns to Raw. And here's the crazy thing. So we talked about the Vince, number pop. By the way, I want to throw something in a second. Vince popped, it was over 2 million, it was like 2.2 million, for SmackDown. Did you,
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, somebody pointed out to me that, how about this? Roman and Riddle had a better number than Vince.
Dude, that match was wonderful. That match was wonderful. It's so bizarre to think someone I saw at the Landmark Arena is main eventing SmackDown versus Roman Reigns and just killing it. Just killing it. Entertaining match.
It could be a good barometer test to test how much, how hard do you want to get behind Riddle?
Mm-hmm.
And listen, we talk about ratings, and we're going to talk about some in a little bit about how little they can mean, how much they can mean. If you believe in numbers and you believe in ratings like diehard, they matter like more than anything else. It's an indication of one of two things: Roman's fucking over, and it doesn't matter. And two, I think Riddle carried his part, to get to that number as well.
And he's going to be the guy that gets rewarded for that.
I think so.
He came out, he did the job, he was a team player, he showed he could stand up, be in the big spotlight. That means good things for him in the future.
Right. Now, we said all that because we were getting if you think those numbers were good, I am super eager to see the Raw numbers with John Cena on it. Now, I get it, by the way. So Raw was near 2 million. Literally, it was, okay, somebody argued. I said, okay, they did 2 million. Oh, they need 1.99. Okay, that's 2 million, especially when it comes to ratings. That's 2 million.
He studied this for years. He understands these factors. Don't argue ratings with Nick. Trust me.
Well, that's a whole thing. But my question for John Cena coming back is, because first of all, it's a random why, right before Money in the Bank. You're like, what am I? Why? Clearly, he has to be setting up something for SummerSlam, right? You would think at this point. We've heard everything pointing towards Theory, but Theory's in a thing with Bobby Lashley.
Well, that's not going to stay forever. Nobody works forever with Bobby Lashley. Let's just be honest.
Is John Cena making another wish? He coming back to make a wish for Theory?
Hey, I don't care, man. We saw. Look how I even shared it, and people shared it because I shared it. That thing about John Cena and Make a Wish is circulating. That's an incredible thing. 650. I didn't even remember what the next guy down is. I think it's Mick Foley, and he's not even got half of it. Okay, John Cena is a bankable, marketable commodity for Hollywood, for WWE, for DC. The Peacemaker thing was amazing. I've got Peacemaker Funkos pre-ordered so far down the line. I don't know when they're coming in. I got an Eagly first, I think, next month. But I had to have them because I love that show so much, because John Cena did such a great job. John Cena is the guy. I was trying so hard to buy the what was the mystery crate box I used to buy. The WWE has one, a Wrestle Crate. It was going to be the John Cena Wrestle Crate. I was going to get a hat and the wristbands and the T-shirt so I could dress up like John Cena. Folks, you're going to sell $1 billion worth of T-shirts. Bring Cena back. If he puts Austin over, if he puts Austin Idol over, not Austin Idol.
Theory.
Jesus Christ.
He's not even Austin. Theory over. It's just Theory.
This Theory. Sorry, I have bad word association problems.
Speaking of another individual that we watched at the Landmark Arena. Right?
Exactly.
You have one main eventing stuff on Raw, one main eventing stuff on SmackDown, and that we've watched them both in the Landmark Arena. The point being for Cena is he's coming back. He's got to be putting somebody over because, that's at this point it's kind of where he's got to be, right? That's his role.
Mm-hmm.
He's not coming back hopefully to beat somebody, which could be. I did want to ask you, Vince kind of essentially referenced Cena as the GOAT. Is that a stretch, you think, or what's the case there?
It's different. It depends on how you justify your Mount Rushmore. Okay, if you want to put your Mount Rushmore on the guy that's drawn the most money, the guy that's drawn the most merchandise, the guy that's granted the most wishes, the guy that's going on to be a Hollywood star, John Cena, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and one other guy I'll figure out later.
Is it Hogan?
If you want to get,
is it Flair? Is it?
Well, Flair would be on any. You can't not put Flair on a Mount Rushmore. But if you were going to base it on wrestlers, it'd be like Flair.
I always joke with people are you talking wrestlers or sports entertainers?
Exactly. What is the definition of your Mount Rushmore?
Right.
As far as sports entertainers, I think John Cena is probably bigger than anybody.
Oh no. Because that's in the Attitude Era. So if they were still wrestlers, did they kind of fade into when they became the sports entertainer era? That's Cena's. That's Cena's run. Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. So, and listen, it's because it's, he's got everything. He's the total package. I mean, he's got like the personality, he's got the promo, he's got the body, he's got the look. And, I know a lot of guys are looking to change up and get that look. And, one of the things that I found, I'm doing this whole keto thing and it's killing me on some days.
I just started mine.
I know. So I'm proud of you.
I'm catching up with him. I haven't got on this yet, though. That's my next step.
Yeah. And let's check out our friends over Athletic Greens, what they've got to say, because it's something I stand behind. Drank mine this morning. Our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because I wanted more energy and I wanted to see what was all the hype about. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, even aging. I personally use it because when I started this keto fasting diet I'm on, I was worried about the energy I was going to have. Not now. It supports better sleep quality, recovery, mental clarity, even alertness. By the way, it's cheaper than getting all the different supplements that's in this thing. Athletic Greens has over 7,000 five-star reviews and even recommended by professional athletes. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient and daily nutrition. It's one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements that you're looking to look out for your health. So to make it easy for you, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is visit their website at athleticgreens.com/emerging. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/emerging to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Well, all right, man. Like I said, take yours every day. Gives you all the nutrients, all that good stuff. If you're trying to get healthy, always trust our friends over Athletic Greens. Because listen, health is a big thing, and right now over in AEW, some people are arguing like there's an injury bug that's claiming, that's hurting them a little bit. We've had little things like, hey, last week a few guys weren't on the show, right? Danielson's not there, Punk's not there, blah blah blah. The week before they did 936,000 viewers. I'm used to us, right?
Yeah.
They had one of their worst weeks ever when it comes to ratings, and we all know what I think of the ratings, by the way. So I'm telling you that up front. But 761,000 down 19. They were up against hockey, which had about 4.5 million viewers. But they were up against basketball, the NBA Finals a week prior to that, and it was 11 million. So a lot of people are like, is it hurting them that bad, Meyer? Is the injury bug hurting them that bad with the big guys not being out? So they gave you a good show.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. We didn't have the Hardys. That's another thing, too. You had to pull Jeff Hardy out of this match. So then you wind up pulling Matt Hardy out of this match.
Here's the other thing, and I'm going to, at the end of this talk, I want to reference. Matter of fact, I'm going to throw it in right here. So the question that I had, did the Hardy thing hurt AEW? Like, people are asking, did the Vince thing hurt, WWE? Did it?
It didn't help.
Right.
Okay, I can't say it hurt, but it sure as hell didn't help. I mean, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Hardy Brothers. At Tijuana, did you see who became Matt's partner in Tijuana at a big show for AAA?
Yeah. Johnny Nitro.
Johnny Hardy.
Johnny Hardy, exactly.
But guys, man, this is tough. You're going to sort through this stuff and try to get a judgment and try to figure everything out. What affected this? What affected that? Vince's ding dong, John Laurinaitis. All this stuff is too speculative. I can't pick why this was. I don't know.
Listen, they gave us, the Bucks are your champions. My money on it was that it should have been probably the Hardys were going to win. But you had to go and listen. Why? Like, well, why even take the belts off them? Well, because you turned Christian heel as well. Post that, so you had to have one thing led to the other. But when it comes to like, oh, well, that hurt it. That's an excuse. But my whole thing is WWE's got the same. Look, Orton's out, Cody's out. Like Rhea Ripley was hurt. They had to fill in her spot for Money in the Bank. On Raw. I mean, there's like so. The injury bug's everywhere, and it just seems like it happens. You ever notice that it seems like it happens like this in wrestling too? Like when it happens like a lot.
Oh yeah, and you can't get anyone promotion be hit with it the worst. And we've got all this stuff coming up with this New Japan show where they're having to move so many faces around. Well, what is this? What's this going to be called next?
Well, that's my whole question is when we talk about the ratings falling, like everything's going towards the AEW Forbidden Door thing. Like my question becomes are they so focused on this? Did they think this was the answer? But do the masses just not care? And that's kind of a big thing because, look, I hope the ratings bounce back, by the way. Obviously everybody knows we record Wednesday prior to Dynamite, so this week's ratings aren't out. There's lots of different pieces to this. But like I said, we are talking like Forbidden Door is this weekend. Yeah. And
I hope everybody succeeds. I hope this works. This is a vaguely new concept. Have a cross promotion with New Japan. Great. I love it.
We love that, Myron. The question is, though, are the fans buying it? Look, I like Tony Storm versus Thunder Rosa. Like, I think that intrigues me.
Definitely. Yes.
But then at the same time, when we have, like, I've got the card in front of me, but my question is, but Will Ospreay and Orange Cassidy? Like, I get it. That fan base loves it. Bully made a comment once about one of his issues with AEW. He feels like they cater to that fan base and that fan base alone. There's nothing to try to expand on it and grow like a mass audience. It's like, we're going to cater to the, and I'm not saying, listen, agree or disagree. The argument was always like, well, but if you cater to those people and those people, they're never going to be loyal and they're never going anywhere. Well, let's keep an eye on the ratings because 200,000 is a big number, especially when you're in your normal time slot, your normal night, your normal channel. Like that's because 20% is a big number. If it's 5, I don't ever lose any sleep. 10, whatever. Could be outside circumstance. And how many times have we discussed that? There's all these different scenarios, right? But to sit there when you walk out, like your main event is Moxley versus Tanahashi. And I would argue that when Tanahashi walked out on Dynamite, I wondered, my question was how many people actually knew who he was?
Yeah, it's almost like they're playing to a smart audience and assuming everyone else should be able to keep up. Well, even me, who not only watches wrestling as a hobby, follows wrestling intensive as a hobby, I have to be reminded who the Japanese big names are because I forget. I can't tell Okada from Tanahashi. I can't keep up with these things sometimes. I would like a video package to remind me. You've got the greatest video package maker, Dylan, there, who can make anything. Give us some time. Give us non-Japanese fans some time to figure this out.
Just like
make me understand why it's important.
But we know, and that's the thing. Like we do watch it, so I do know who these names are. It's not like I'm like I don't know who these people are. And here's the thing where I'm admitting I could be wrong. Reference our pre-show conversation, Myron. I never say this. I'm saying that maybe I was wrong. I always assumed that the diehard fan base was around 900,000 people because those people were watching Dynamite no matter what.
Yes.
But then you draw 761. My question became, did you have 140,000 casual fans who aren't watching right now because they don't get this. They don't understand this, and they don't know who any of these people are. It's not worth tuning in for them. That would be telling for me if that were the case. If this week does a very similar number, the concern for me in pro wrestling would be then that means like the diehard audience is even smaller than we originally thought. Because when you talk about numbers like Impact and new NWA and things like that, then you're getting inside the niche, inside of a niche audience because they're streaming service only and blah blah blah, all these other factors. But look, I think we both have the same take. Like, I hope this pay-per-view is successful. I want it to do well because
Yes.
I think a
I
successful
want to see
pay-per-view.
more of it.
Right.
I want
That's
to see
why.
more of it. You've
Absolutely.
got guys working in AAA all the time. Wow, let's bring some of the AAA guys up here and do some stuff. Let's do something neat. Let's do more stuff to entertain people. Make that forbidden door a revolving door where
Right.
it happens all the time.
Which it's funny because the Forbidden Door, we found out there are guys that can't work it.
Yeah, it's that much more forbidden.
Correct. But that's what the humorous part of that is. It looks like of all of the shows in the country that's going to bring everybody together from multiple promotions, it's going to be like the StarCast thing with Ric Flair's thing. Like more promotions are going to be involved in that than anything.
Yes.
So that's I find a little bit humorous that everybody's talking about Forbidden Door, but then like, okay, but this guy can't work this guy, and this can't. Okay, these guys can't work because of okay, so it's not a Forbidden Door. Like, not all things aren't open. Let's get them all open, and I get it, small steps, baby steps, but we
like
wish that
it's not a real lock. It's like one of those locks the little kids can't open. It's like a child protective lock.
Yeah.
Okay. We can do this eventually.
Eventually, yeah. But look, that was last. That's this coming up weekend. But this last weekend, check out the
Look
the
at
picture. That. This picture is very indicative of my thoughts of this pay-per-view, by the way. And that's just where I'm at. First and foremost, I will throw out my first line. Completely and utterly entertained for a few hours watching it.
Oh yeah. So I was so happy. I was not giving a shit. I was relaxed and enjoyed this. My brain was distracted over the things that were stressing me. I just enjoyed a wrestling show, and it was goofy, and it was funny, and it was not perfect, and it was sports entertainment. Okay.
Speaking of sports entertainment, how cool was it that they let AJ do a video package for that?
Yes, that was my favorite part of the whole thing. Is that fact that AJ is back talking, and AJ working, and even acknowledged WWE.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was thankful they allowed him to do it. I mean, and it's cool because he thanked them knowing, like, what. As much as I'm a big fan, and I still think he potentially could have overcame all. Without Impact, I don't know that we get it. We don't get AJ Styles.
No, I don't think so either. He'd still be in Japan, but not be the bigger name. Impact let him be known in America.
Does he escape Ring of Honor? That's the question. Like, between Ring of Honor and Japan, is he a big enough star, or is he out of the business by now?
I think he'd still be there.
And it's funny. I hear this a lot. I hear this a lot between Jeff Jarrett's podcast. Speaking of which, why the fuck was he not there? It was his fucking creation, and it was the 20th anniversary of Slammiversary, and he's not there.
Well, they don't always. The Jarretts and Impact.
It doesn't matter. They let Dixie there.
Now I knew that was going to happen, but it was still a surprise.
Right.
Wow.
And you can't say, well, he's working for WWE now. Okay, well, AJ was, and they let him be there. It made no sense to me when things like Samoa Joe wasn't even asked, apparently. Jeff Jarrett on his podcast says here's the crazy thing. Conrad asked Jeff where he was on Sunday during the pay-per-view. He was on the lake fishing with his dad.
Well,
at home in Tennessee, just down the road, like not even that far. Like that, he literally could have been a phone call away, and the two guys who start the freaking company literally were just a couple hours away. That you could have had them on your
lawsuit recently.
I don't care. Okay, I'm not going to beat up the negative. I was just shocked he wasn't there. Yeah, so let's stay positive for a minute. So it was super entertaining and all that kind of stuff. I'm completely happy. It was awesome. Cool.
Queen of the Mountain. WE needs to do something like that because that was awesome. Mickie James. God, she's awesome.
Yeah.
Deonna Purrazzo, Jordan Grace. They have the best women's division. I used to say just right below the WWE, but I mean they're doing some great crap, man. Let's see some stuff with Becky Lynch and Asuka. Let's see some stuff like that. Wow.
Now for the negative. It was funny because I did catch myself, and again, things I said, and then I hear Bully say them out loud, and it makes me laugh. Some of the stuff didn't make psychological sense.
No.
Wrestling psychology. Like why did the guy could have won the X Division match, instead he dove off of the X and he could have just literally clear path, grab the belt, you win. Way too many table spots, just things like that. But listen, it was a car crash pay-per-view essentially. Right? I mean, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked myself something. If you were
What's
so
that?
entertained, I'm me. I was like, if you were so entertained at the end of the day, like, am I analyzing it? And we always talk about this. I caught myself saying, are you analyzing it too much and just not being a fan and just enjoying it? So I was like, let it go and stop analyzing. Like, well, that doesn't make sense. Because at the core of it, I was entertained by it.
And that's all that's important. I mean, I paid $40 for this pay-per-view. I didn't regret that. I would pay it again. It was well worth it. It was an entertaining, and I actually stretched it out over a couple of days so I could get to see everything on my time. And I might even watch some of it again. And I rarely ever watch pay-per-view a second time. But it's, folks,
yeah,
I loved it.
By the way,
perfect. No,
I don't like to toot my own horn, but for all the people screaming the Good Brothers were leaving, toot toot. I was like, why would they leave? It's like, would we joke about it? Was it a week or two ago? We were joking about it. Like, they're not going anywhere. It's an easy payday.
It's the best job. To me, it's the best job in wrestling. You may not make the most money, but you live at home, show up for tapings, and then work anywhere else in the world you want to work.
And they don't do house shows. They literally have tapings. You put that on your calendar. You can go work wherever you. I'm like, everybody's like, well, yeah, but they're in Japan working. As long as it don't conflict with tapings, it don't matter.
If you can get back to Nashville, that's all that matters.
Or wherever, because remember they did some in Vegas and they do some in Nashville.
Yes.
They're coming to Atlanta for crying out loud. Kudos, shout out to Tyreek, by the way. I saw he's going to be working with those guys, so kudos to that, man. That's awesome. They're going to be at Center Stage doing something, and I get why people work Center Stage, but it's fucking one of the most uncomfortable buildings. We're big guys. Full disclosure there. That's kind of why.
I don't understand why nobody works Gwinnett more frequently. And I'm not talking about the full Gwinnett Arena. I'm talking about they have a whole thing where they have trade shows and conventions.
Yeah.
That you could set up for wrestling and be just fine. There's so many places you could run. Center Stage, I don't want to cart my ass downtown.
Yeah.
On a school night, in the dark, and then, and get in a seat I can't fit my fat ass in. Give me modern convenience, for Christ's sake. Let's do this let's put this stuff in Gwinnett County where you could probably draw much more.
Somebody asked me about selling teeth, like, why do things down like at Center Stage not? And I'm like, listen, if you're not AEW and you're not WWE, where you have like the massive, television where you're putting out and everybody's seeing you, I think it's a struggle to sell those buildings. You want my honest truth? It's a struggle for WWE to sell those buildings sometimes.
Yeah.
That's why Gwinnett works. And honestly, it's just downtown is not very convenient to get in and get out of. And that's essentially why I always tell people, like, it's hard pressed to get me to go to those shows. I say the same thing about indie shows that run in Atlanta. I'm like, the worst decision you can, and listen, I know some people do it and they do okay. It is you are ice skating uphill when you run downtown. That's just my take on it. Because you're very hard pressed to get me to a show downtown. You have to be special to get me downtown. Just in general, by the way. I had to do, like last week, I had to do a meeting at the airport. And dreaded it all week long. And I could actually tell you worse. I literally was on the road more than I was in the meeting. It took me an hour and 20 minutes to get there, to and from. So I was 240. The meeting and lunch were 2 hours. So there's why I say, anyway, but that's my point with as far as doing the doing it all.
I keep putting Buford over for the best arena. They've got a 5,000. Now this is just in the stands, not counting what you could put on the floor. 5,000 seat high tech arena.
I think I read like if you did a concert there, and I know it's not apples to apples, it's like 7,000 or 8,000. I think it's 7. So maybe about 7,000 people you could put in there. If you put a ring in the middle and you put the chairs on the floor, and by the way, I don't know if you know, it's concrete. They have a court that they roll out. The basketball court actually rolls out onto the floor.
So I would guarantee there's probably a curtain that you could cut the whole place in half, make it a 2,500 seat venue, a 2,000 seat venue, and still run.
I don't know about half, but I know there's a curtain because they did a graduation there, and you could pull the curtain across, like to block off. Like, and oh, by the way, it's got a jumbotron, or the little thing that hangs from the, you know what I'm talking about, from the ceiling. It's got one of those. So but it'd be pricey. Don't get me wrong. I'm fully aware of that. But they do have some of the TV stuff in there as well. Like they have all the high speed internet you need. They have box seats and all this kind of crazy stuff as well. So anyway, to say all of that, if you're also running locally, I've been pitching this forever that people should be putting their shows on YouTube.
Yes.
Just like us, youtube.com/C/Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Or like we always jokingly say, just go to YouTube and put it in the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. You'll find us. Because that's kind of our big home. That's where you can join, subscribe, become a member, all that good stuff, and get all of the extras. But of course, we are fully aware that a lot of you guys are like, you're podcast listeners. You've never had the pleasure of watching me and Myron like actually watch us and see us. You always just get to hear Myron's, his golden pipes as he comes through. You listen to us on iHeartMedia, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. Like I said, we were talking about Lipson, one of our partners that we work with. They do all this for us. So again, make sure, when you're talking about podcast platform, make sure you subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, review. And of course, if you're wanting to do your podcast, make sure you're checking out our friends over at Lipson.com and use the promo code FRIEND. That would be a huge, way to support us. And by the way, get your legs under you and get you to do something, the first month for free, to get your podcast, get it all started and get it up and running. And of course, check out our friends over at Athletic Greens. We always appreciate all of their support to keep the show running. Anything else, Ben, before we get out of here this week?
This weekend, folks, if you're out and around, Jefferson, 4 o'clock, Southern Fried is running a free show. Go out to that. Enjoy whatever. They're having a freedom festival or something. What's more freedom than professional wrestling?
Yeah. Okay.
Go check that out. I know it's going to be great. Later that night, Landmark Arena, go check out Anarchy. Friday night, PCW is running.
Yeah.
Go check that out. That's the show I can never get to because of my work schedule.
Yeah.
And I really miss it.
Yeah. And if you do local, by the way, we do put out a list on our YouTube of like shows all over the country. And of course, the Rob Rod Report, if you're local here in Atlanta, because why you want to subscribe to him over on YouTube is because he does a video where it actually has the posters, the pictures of the posters and stuff. So you can kind of see who's on the card and all that kind of stuff as well.
But anywhere in the country, it does not matter where you are. I guarantee somewhere nearby, there's an independent wrestling show.
Yep.
Go find it and enjoy it.
Yep. It'd be just as much fun, if not more, especially if you're a family, get your kids there because it's less expensive to get them all there and that good stuff. And
it's less expensive than a movie.
Oh, a lot less. Absolutely. We went the other day to see Top Gun, and it was like $15 a ticket for a matinee. That's crazy. But anywho, well, man, is that it? That's everything you got for this week?
That's all I got.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.